Welcome to this video. Since there are no questions in the comments section of the intro video, I will discuss the function of the form C, which I call word C locativo, in the document cloc for short. You can see the part of the document related to C locativo displayed on my screen. You can access the document via the URL that I included in the pinned comment to this video. If you have not yet watched the intro video where I explained, for example, what I mean by the terms form C and word C, as well as the purpose of these videos, I suggest you do so now, before watching this video. Before I start talking about C locativo, there is one thing written in the introduction of the document that I would like to mention. As you may know, the clitic forms mi, ti, si, ci, and v each have two variants, one ending in e, the other in e. For the purposes of the document, the two variants of each form are equivalent because we choose between them based on a criterion of selection independent of the function that the clitic form performs in a given sentence, and I discuss the functions of the form C, not its morphology. Consequently, the fact that the discussion is always based on the variant C alone, and that I do not comment on the choice between C and C in the examples, has no implications. The elements that C locativo replaces describe overall the following referents: positions, destinations, stretches, including in all the three cases both what is physical and what is abstract. If you are wondering what I mean by referent, for the purpose of this discussion you may consider it the entity described by a word in a specific context, so that, for example, the referent of the word io is the person who uses it. While there is not much to say about the physical referents of C locativo, the abstract ones are varied and more difficult to manage. If you want to try writing examples with the latter in the comments to this video, I will check them. First note, the meanings of C locativo are the reason because of which this word C is etymologically considered the original function of the form C, since it is believed that the latter derives through a hypothetical spoken Latin word hic from the Latin adverb hic, which means, among other things, here. Second note, this function of the form C is related to the form ne, since the latter refers, among other things, to an origin, physical or abstract, so that, in the locative context, the two forms can be considered semantically complementary. Among the non-critic equivalents of C locativo, it is interesting to analyze those that begin with a proper preposition. In particular, because this is useful for distinguishing C locativo from other words C, especially C extra. All proper prepositions except con, that is, di, a, da, in, su, per, and tra, are involved in substitutions with C locativo. In the Italian critic context, such a variety of substitution with a signal form is found only in the form C, and more precisely here and in the word C extra. All other critics perform substitutions of meanings whose non-critic equivalents, when introduced by proper prepositions, use, including the case of the null preposition, one or two of them altogether. Trying to identify the meanings commonly introduced by each proper preposition, so far I have managed to collect the following list. Di, a, in, su, and tra introduce positions and destinations. Da also introduces positions and destinations, but only those identified using the name of animate reference. usually human beings. It also introduces stretches as thresholds, as for example in dalla porta. Per introduces positions and stretches. It is useful to reiterate that this list concerns the elements that can be replaced with C locativo. Not all the elements that can be introduced by those proper prepositions. Taking per as an example, this preposition also introduces elements that describe a destination. For example, il treno per Trapani. However, this case is not included in my list because I could not find a plausible example in which C locativo is used to replace such an element. At this point in the document, you will find the examples that I wrote for you. That's all. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section of the intro video. I will do my best to answer. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to reading your comments and I hope to see you in a future video. Bye!